Hi, everyone. My name is Sadie, and tonight I'll be sharing a collection of unhinged Reddit stories I've gathered. Stories filled with wild turns, messy relationships, and the kind of chaos only strangers on the internet can provide. As I narrate, I'll also be playing through the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, letting its calm and cinematic moments unfold alongside the storytelling. It's a mix of soothing gameplay and unpredictable drama, the perfect balance to relax, unwind, or simply have something engaging to listen to. So get comfortable, and let's begin with what should have been one of the happiest moments in a couple's life, welcoming their newborn baby. But instead of joy, the father is convinced the child isn't his, and everything starts to fall apart from there. Me, 26F, and boyfriend, 29M, of 3 years, just had our first baby. We're white, baby is black. I have a close black ancestor, but BF is furious and accusing me of cheating. We were over the moon when we discovered the pregnancy, and we were both really excited to have a child together. We wanted, to get married next year, and everything was going great. We were happy. We both look very white, pale skin, blue eyes, brown and blonde hair. However, my great-great-grandpa was black, and some of his features have popped up here and there in our family. Kinky hair, darker skin, more black-looking facial characteristics. My BF knows this and has seen some of my aunts and uncles and cousins who have these features. I, however, don't have any myself, and neither does my mom. Our daughter was born 5 days ago, and I guess she just got all the dormant genes in me because she's really dark-skinned compared to us, with really curly hair. I think she's adorable, but my BF flipped. He accused me of cheating, that the baby couldn't possibly be his. I've never given him a reason to suspect me of infidelity, and I've certainly never cheated. We argued about it. I pointed at all my cousins and other relatives who have black features, but he absolutely refused to listen. Said our daughter looked too black for that to be a plausible explanation. He stormed out of the hospital, sent me a text an hour later that we were over, and when I got home from the hospital the next day, he wasn't there and most of his personal belongings gone. I tried to reach him, but he didn't answer my calls or texts until 3 days later, when he told me he demanded a paternity test to prove that I was a liar, and if I refuse, I'll never see him again. I'm completely broken down and hurt over this. Our entire relationship, he's been so sweet and rational. This is completely unlike him. If he'd just calmly asked for a paternity test to begin with, I would have been hurt, but I guess I could understand the concerns. Our daughter looks nothing like him, but I don't think our relationship can survive this, even when I proved to him I wasn't lying. Should I go through with the test or just cut my losses here and raise her alone? I decided to get the test done. I'll update you all when I get the results. I'm still angry, but I guess I understand him a bit better now. OP's update 5 days later. Hey guys. First of all, I want to thank all the original commenters who helped me see my BF's side and calmed me down enough to take the test. Well, the results are in, and of course, she's his. The whole process was absolutely ridiculous. I got an appointment with the doctor and texted BF the time and location. He didn't answer, but showed up, and the entire time, he didn't say one word to me. And he didn't want to touch or even look at baby, and left as soon as they'd taken his sample, despite the doctor asking him to stay so we could go over a few things. Once he left, I just broke down, and I must say the doctor was really nice. Didn't judge me or accuse me of anything, just calmly went over how the test works, and told me babies are often born darker than they actually end up being. Baby was an absolute champ, barely fussed when they drew her blood. I got the results yesterday. I texted BF the news and asked if he wanted to come over and open it with me. After almost half an hour, he finally responded, yes, he'd like to come over. I'm thinking he either sent it while on his way or he's not staying very far away because he was here in about 15 minutes. Well, we opened it and read the positive test together. He turned white like a sheet and then just started bawling. I had to shush him because he was crying so loudly. And finally, I got an explanation for his flip out. I mentioned in a comment on the old post that he was an only child to very old parents. His dad died a few years ago, and his mom lives alone a few hours' drive from us. I haven't met her often, but she seemed pleasant enough. Turns out, she hates me. Absolutely hates my guts, and always has. I had no idea about this. She's always acted kind of snobby, sure, but I had no idea she disliked me this much. When BF called her to tell her the good news 8 months back, when we discovered the pregnancy, she started crying. He never told me this. And as the months passed, she continued being super negative about the whole thing and saying she doubted the baby was actually his, and I was below them. Poor people cheat because they're raised in a effed up environment. What the fuck? And instead of talking to me about this, BF kept silent while constantly doubting me more and more. Baby being black but the final nail in the coffin that his mother was right and I was a good-for-nothing cheating bee. After telling me all this, we just sat in silence for a while. Finally, he asked if he could hold baby. I was still angry as hell, but decided that holding her was his right. He's her father after all. I went and got her from her crib, let him have her, and he started crying again, which scared her and she started crying too. So they were just sitting there bawling together for a while. Finally, he stopped, handed her back, and asked if he could come home. I was kind of taken aback. I didn't expect him to just flat out ask that already. I laid out everything I said in the last thread. How insanely disrespectful and childish he'd been, how he'd horribly broken my trust, hadn't talked to me about his mom's poisonous and ignorant comments, completely ignores me for 3 days, not telling me where he is or if he's even alive. And then he just waltzes in and wants to start living here again. I told him if he ever wanted to have some inkling of a chance of mending the relationship, we had to go to couples therapy ASAP. From now on, he will answer my calls and messages unless there's an emergency. He will not be staying here for a while. And finally, he needs to tell his mom to back the F off. She will not be seeing baby until she apologizes to me in person. He immediately agreed and finally told me how sorry he was for this whole fiasco. I'm not sure if I can forgive him for this, but I'm gonna try. We had an amazing life before this, and I hope that with a lot of work, we can have it again. BF also finally told me that he was staying in a hostel, but it's not very expensive, so he can stay there for a while longer. Baby is doing great, considering how many stress hormones she must have been drinking from me these last few days. Her hair is falling out, but the doctor told me it was normal, and babies often lose most or all the hair they're born with. I'm hoping her new hair will grow in blonde. That would make her even cuter. Thank you all for your help on the last thread. My mom agreed with many of you and thinks I'm absolutely nuts for trying to work things out. But I think it'd be best for everyone if we at least give it a shot. All right, that brings us to the end of this story. Let's move on to another one, this time about a friendship that crossed an unexpected line. My 28 female wife's best friend, 24 female, decided to kiss me, 26 male. This happened on Friday, and I've taken the weekend to process it, but I still don't know what to do. I somehow ended up kissing my wife's best friend, who we'll call Amy. Also, this is a throwaway account as my main is too identifiable. Here is some backstory. On Friday, Amy needed someone to pick up her 3-year-old from daycare since she was working late and had a date planned. I didn't know about the date at the time. Amy is a single mom who left her abusive ex about not long after their kid was born and is still involved in ongoing custody and abuse cases in court. My wife and I have been helping with childcare since the breakup, as Amy's ex and his family are apparently unreliable, and her own parents seem to have a similar attitude. We often help with daycare pickups or weekend babysitting, especially since Amy works odd shifts at the hospital. I spend more time with the child because I work a regular 9 to 5, and my manager is more relaxed than my wife's crazy schedule and boss. None of this has ever been an issue. In fact, it's helped my wife and I prepare for having our own child someday and understand the work that goes into parenting. We also know Amy is going back to school in the fall to study healthcare and will likely need continued support with childcare. Our friends have pointed out that I having been playing dad for a child that's not mine, and this is what changed my wife and my minds on actually wanting our own kids. Friday, I picked up the kid from daycare after work and stopped for groceries before heading home to pick up my wife and go to a friend's place for game night. They're also great with having the kid around. Around 8 p.m., Amy texted my wife to say she was on her way to pick up the kid. When she arrived, she looked exhausted. I packed up the kid's things and carried him to the car. While swapping the car seat back into Amy's car, we made small talk about her day. That's when she mentioned her date had flaked. He found out from a friend that she had a kid and hadn't told him. This isn't the first time it's happened. My wife has told me about similar situations. And once, Amy's ex even harassed one of her dates who was likely a great fit 3 dates in. From what I understand, Amy prefers to disclose that she has a child in person rather than over text, as it is likely a touchy subject. She started crying, so I buckled the kid in and turned back to comfort her. Being the socially awkward penguin that I am, I didn't know how to handle the situation. I awkwardly patted her on the head, which felt wrong, so I offered a hug. During the hug, Amy looked up and kissed me. I froze. By the time I processed what had happened, she had pulled away and said she should get home to bed. I was stunned and didn't know what to do, so I went back inside and continued game night. I told my wife that Amy's date had flaked. I know Amy caught her up on the details of the failed date on Saturday because my wife spilled the tea, but there was no mention of the hug or kiss. I still haven't told my wife about the kiss, and I'm not sure what to do. Part of me thinks I should tell her, but I worry she'd lose a friend over what I believe was a lapse in judgment on Amy's part. And yes, I'm aware I'll get my fair share of judgment from Reddit and from my wife for not telling her right away. I'll deserve it. Was this cheating? That was the end of the original post. OP came back and updated 5 days later. If you haven't read the previous post, it's clear that I had a lot to take away from this situation and work on. To clear up a couple of questions and comments, our friend group has a 13-year age gap from youngest to oldest. Most of us have or had siblings in the group, which is why we have such a difference in ages. I am autistic and have an issue with dealing with most uncomfortable situations. The kiss was on the lips, and yes, I froze in the situation. It didn't come across to me as anything other than odd. I thought about telling my wife right away, but was uncomfortable doing so in front of the others, so didn't at the time. It was playing on my mind for the rest of game night and had me unsure what it was and if it was important to tell her. After the initial post, I left work early to inform my wife what happened on Friday. After 2 long hours, we had a few things to deal with. We agreed I was wrong for not telling her about it right away, which is no surprise, but she was thankful I told her. We promised to work on our relationship and communication. After work the following day, following a commenter's advice, we took a trip to get out of town for a few days and go camping. This has helped us reconnect and reminded us of why we got married in the first place. We got back to town today, and my wife had invited Amy over in the evening to discuss what happened. My wife decided that she wanted to further talk about what happened in person after she spoke to her initially on Monday. The conversation on Monday with Amy, following your advice, I suggested that my wife call Amy to confirm my story. So she did. Amy immediately confessed before my wife even had a chance to confront her fully. Amy said that she had been struggling recently and that she needed support. The failed date and seeing me play the father figure, along with seeming to care about her day, made her feel wanted. She said that she felt awful immediately, and that is why she rushed home. This call went on for nearly an hour, where we discussed how we felt hurt as a couple and how we need to set some boundaries. We agreed that we would be stepping back from helping with her and the kid for the time being, but agreed that if we were to help again, my wife would deal with most of it. My wife and I agreed that I wouldn't be left alone with Amy for some time, to be sure, and this includes games nights. Amy said that she understood how we felt and continued to show remorse. So my wife, for some reason, invited her over today. Friday. So the two of them spoke for a few hours today about everything. They went back over the boundaries and what was expected if Amy was going to remain friends with us. Against what I think is the right choice, my wife and Amy are going to continue as friends for now. We are still going to help out, but the interactions that I have with Amy will be limited, as I am still not 100% sure of the whole situation. I know many of you will be against this, but we have set some ground rules on how often we help out. Amy agreed that looking for a partner right now will be the last thing on her list, and she will be focusing on her child, work, and mental health. Amy is already in counseling and is likely to need more time. We agreed that this was something not to be discussed with the wider friend group, as we are sure they all have very different opinions, and we all want to keep the peace. One key boundary that I think had made a massive difference on the outcome of this and hopefully helped Amy understand the situation and how I felt is that I won't be carpooling with Amy to work when she goes back to university in September. I work in the next city over, not far from the university. Before all this happened, I had agreed to take Amy into the city on my way to work for the few days she has in-person lessons, as I will already be making the trip. And especially in the winter, the roads can get dangerous. I feel bad for this, but it was one of the things my wife had reminded me that I would have been alone with her in the car for some time. Depending on how things go, I might be willing to offer this again, but not sure if it's the right thing to do. My wife has gone to bed early tonight as camping takes a toll on the body, and I am left wondering about this whole thing. And hopefully things will go back to some sort of normal soon. Our marriage seems to be still intact, and we have shared a lot and discussed the feelings we have both been having about other issues in our relationship. Our marriage isn't perfect, but we are going to work on it and promise not to let things like this happen again. Turns out, when you communicate effectively, you both find out the things that annoyed us about the relationship, which made the whole kiss issue the least concerning. We both have a lot to work on when it comes to our relationship as a whole, but something we are both willing to work on. I am not sure if keeping Amy as a friend was a good idea, but I will have to see how this goes before approaching my wife. Was this the right thing to do? And that story's over. Let's head into the next story, where family and living arrangements create a whole new kind of tension. Am I a bad person for wanting to ask my future mother-in-law to move out of our house? I, 29F, and my fiance, 29M, live in a 3-bedroom house for 3 years now. We used to rent, but when we got pregnant, we decided we were in our best financial state to get a mortgage. My parents and his parents gave us some cash to help with the down payment of our house, and we bought a house. Anyway, my fiance renovated the house, and it is now in excellent condition. After a year, my future mother-in-law and father-in-law decided to move in with us for a year, as my father-in-law would like to travel 6 months a year overseas to visit his mom and deal with some stuff. When they moved, they completely took over my kitchen, changed my plates, and put away my appliances to use theirs, used their dining table, used the living room without considering other people. By this I mean changing the show if I paused it to go pee, and overall just using it as if they owned the house, not even considering that we have a 1-year-old living in the house. I've talked to them about it, but they just brush me off or say, yeah, but still use their stuff or do whatever they want again. A year from when they moved in, and they haven't moved out yet. And my father-in-law has been traveling back and forth, and my mother-in-law is being like a queen, where I have to look after her dishes, hang her laundry, clean her bathroom, etc. There were some small habits that are driving me insane. She also tries to subtly be bitchy to me, and I've been keeping it all in. A few months ago, my sister visited us for an event and has told us that my mother-in-law was saying that they should be able to live here as they lent us cash and also to help us with the child. She's tried to pay rent, but it's never consistent as she's not very good with finances. She will prioritize a trip with her friends, instead paying to go to the doctor. This drove me nuts, as this was not true. They sporadically helped us with taking care of the child, but we also didn't know that the cash was only a loan, as they didn't tell us that. So my fiance and I decided that we're gonna pay it all off. And we finally did. My fiance has been very supportive of me, but also feels bad for his parents because he's an only child. I'm pregnant the 2nd time around now, and we would like to use the 3rd room for my baby boy, my in-laws' room. The rooms are small, so we definitely cannot fit 2 single beds in one room. My first child is a girl, and she already sleeps by herself, and we decided having another baby sleep in her room will disrupt her sleep pattern, especially because the room is small and could not fit another bed, only a small cot. We've tried to talk to my in-laws, but they're only saying they'll move soon, maybe in 3 months or maybe next year. My fiance has also been asking them a lot, but he doesn't get clear answers, so I'm wanting to intervene, as they rarely tell me any of their decisions, even when I'm physically in front of them. I've asked advice from my parents, and they're saying I should try to be more lenient, as it might cause some drama if I give them a final date to move out. So I'm wondering, would I be the bad person if I give them 3 months to move out, 3 months after my baby is born? Taking into account the comments, I sat with my fiance and told him I can't take it anymore. If they, his parents, don't move out in the next 2 weeks, I will pack my stuff up and my children and I will live with my parents, and I expect to be paid half of the value of the house. I love my fiance, but I love myself and my kids more, and living in this situation is not good for everyone. He finally put his foot down and told his parents and gave them options on all rental places available. They have started going to inspections, but have no good things to say, so I don't know if they're serious. My mother-in-law has started being nice to me, but I know it's just an act. I have slowly packed all their stuff and bought stuff for the house, so all their furniture and appliances are now in the garage. To be sure they took this seriously, I've also packed some of my stuff and my child and unborn child stuff for when I move out in case they don't. I can see my fiancé panic, and I'm sad I've put him in this position, but we both know and agree this is all for the best. So thanks, Reddit, and we'll see in 2 weeks. Oh, and I have stopped all chores I do for them. All I now do is for myself and my kid and fiancé only. And I've asked my fiancé also not to pick up their slack, too. In the final update, OP wrote, "Hi all, it's been a crazy past 2 weeks, and I've finally had the time to write this, as I can't sleep and think I'm about to be in labor. Sorry this is gonna be long. I feel like I'm writing in my diary. I have a few updates. First, I spoke to my fiancé's relative, who he treats as a sibling, and relative basically told me what most Reddit comments have told me, and has mentioned that fiancé is blind to his parents' flaws, as he only had his parents when they moved countries, and relied and obeyed them fully when he was younger. But we can now see he has now woken up and have seen that this is not normal behavior. Second, we went to couples therapy last week and are planning to continue. Both of us need to communicate more, and fiancé broke down as he was really oblivious to his parents using him as an investment, but has now seen their ways. I also want to defend him, as I didn't give him enough credit in my previous posts, but he definitely helps me, comforts me, and has gone beyond to support me. On my fiancé's relatives' point of view, my mother-in-law told them that they were the ones who offered to move out, but we didn't want them to move so they can help taking care of the kids. Relative knew this was BS and told her, "Oh, I thought your son needed you out because they need all their rooms now." And mother-in-law was seemingly shocked and just said, "Oh, they will need my help." But now they have moved out. It was rough. The in-laws were not making it easy. They would go to open houses late, which I think was on purpose to miss it, and my fiancé took time off of his 2 jobs to make sure they go check, inspect rentals, and sign on the rentals. And he said there's no stopping till they find one, basically leaving them no choice. So thank God they are officially out. And I've changed the locks, we're setting up the nursery, and I can finally breathe. Fiancé and I are planning on selling this house and buying another one in a year so that we can start fresh after I give birth and after our wedding, without the shit memories of my in-laws in our house. Thanks, Reddit, for being my older sister or brother when my siblings told me to suck it up, as they really don't know how I feel. I can't believe the only one who told me to stand up to my in-laws, aside from you guys, was my fiancé's relative. Maybe because they're the only one who truly knew them. I think my son is now ready to come out. That chapter has closed. Now our next story begins with suspicion, secrets, and the fear of betrayal. But the truth may not be what it seems. I, 30 female, with my husband, 32 male of 8 years, found possible evidence of cheating. I'm devastated. I don't know where exactly to start. He is working late tonight, or that is what he says, so I thought I'd take some time to write in and ask for advice. Sorry for this being disjointed. I've been pretty emotional and crying a lot this evening. We have been together since college, married for the last 8 years. Right after college grad for me. We were perfect for each other. Many friendships have come and gone, but we've always found contentment in each other. Both adventurous and did some traveling together when we were first married. We argued, but not a lot. We had kids. First, planned child, was 6 years ago. Second, surprise child, and last is now 3. Since having kids, it's been tough to get time together. Both of our parents live a few hours' drive away. There aren't many babysitters we found that can handle our rambunctious boys. Husband works a demanding, stressful job,
and has had to cancel vacation plans more than once over the last 6 years because of a terrible boss. We were seeing each other for what felt like minutes every day, and our children, while wonderful, demanded a lot of our time and energy.
His boss changed about 6 months ago. Immediately, his hours became more reasonable, and his stress levels went down. Still long hours and travel some days, but better. We had evenings together again, but something was different. It felt like we were strangers, just roommates who had kids together. We were just so exhausted from the last few years that we must have spent a couple months using any spare time we had once the kids were in bed crashing, watching Netflix, etc. Just boring stuff. And all along, I felt very disconnected from the man who was supposed to be my partner. So we talked about it. I told him I missed him. We had a few conversations about feeling disconnected. We hired a sitter, went on some dates, and things started to feel better. He's been more loving and attentive. He bought me flowers again. I was feeling so hopeful, like I was getting my partner back. About a month ago, I noticed something I think I wasn't supposed to. He has been talking about this work trip coming up for a week in August. It's been a bit of a sore spot for me since, in my mind, summer is for family vacations, not work trips. But I've been being understanding. However, when he was in the shower, his phone beeped, and I saw an email from someone named Allison entitled Our Trip. I felt a little weird looking at it, but when I asked him about it, he checked his phone and told me it was a spam email. I didn't think of it after that, but since then, I haven't seen his phone left out again. I found something else about a week ago. It was a receipt for a jewelry store, and it was a sizable sum. Money has never really been terribly tight for us, but even I was surprised by how much it was for. I felt a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I admit, looked for his personal laptop to see if I could snoop through his emails. But he'd taken his personal laptop to work, something he'd never done. I was getting nervous, but somehow didn't want to bring it up with him. Maybe I was trying not to believe it, but this morning I found his credit card bill in his sock drawer. Why was he hiding it, you ask? There were transactions going back over the last month, all for stores that men typically don't shop at. I added them up, and he has spent a few $100s on what looks like women's clothing and lingerie. I haven't seen anything from these stores in our house, so who are they for? He's working better hours, but still away some evenings. He could be spending at least an evening a week with someone else. I don't know what to think, but I fear the worst. Is there someone else? Was I too unavailable when our kids were younger? Is he going on a trip with them? Is it this Allison person? What am I going to do if he leaves me? He's buying her presents, for God's sake. Doesn't that usually mean a man is moving on or falling in love somewhere else? I don't know what to do. I don't know any of his passwords, so I can't snoop. I could call his office to make sure he's actually there when he says he is, but if I talk to anyone, I think I'm just going to start bawling again. He should be home in a few hours. What am I going to do? I don't want to raise my kids alone. I don't want to be alone. OP came back with an update 14 hours later. The comments are making me very scared. I am thankful for everyone who is talking to me, though, even when it's hard to hear. I've calmed down a bit, and I'm going to call my older sister to talk to a real person about this. She lives a couple hours away, but we have always been close, and she knows my husband well. I will try and update again later. Thank you again to everyone. I just had a very strange conversation with my sister. I told her everything, was getting really worked up and emotional and crying again. She interrupted me and told me, "Sis, it's going to be fine. You need to calm down and talk to my husband when he gets home." I promise everything is okay. Hang up the phone, take a bath or something, calm down, and wait for my husband to get home." Then she said she loved me, and she hung up. What the hell is going on with my life today? I feel like she just blew me off. She didn't seem to react to what I was saying. But most commenters here seem pretty sure that something bad is going on. I feel like I'm going crazy. Right after I posted my edit about my sister and the phone call, my husband texted. He said my sister had called him and he was on his way home. I immediately freaked out because I did not feel ready to talk to him. I was super pissed at my sister for calling him. And to be honest, I felt like the entire world was falling down around my ears. I broke down. I didn't even know where I was, but when I heard the front door open, I realized I was on my knees in the kitchen, sobbing. My husband skidded around the corner, and when I saw him, I just started crying harder. He dropped to the ground in front of me and started apologizing, and I just lost it. I started shaking my head and saying, "No, no, 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 no," over and over again. I couldn't even hear what he was saying. He tried to hug me, and I held my arms out all stiff, like a kid does when they don't want a hug, just holding him back. It took me a few minutes to register what he was saying, but he was repeating over and over, "I'm sorry for scaring you, please listen to me. You need to hear what's going on. I'm not cheating, please listen to me." Just over and over. I finally stopped and just said, "What?" I just was so drained and confused. It was good news. I saw some of the comments in the original post saying maybe it was a surprise, and you folks get the grand prize. The story all came out. After our big talks about reconnecting, he called my sister for advice. My sister's idea was to have him spirit me away for a surprise weekend getaway while she and my brother-in-law took the kids. She connected him to her friend, a travel agent, remember Allison, to get the ball rolling. The plan evolved into my sister and parents trading off with the kids for the week.
The jewelry receipt is for a necklace, for me, to wear out to dinner on our trip. The credit card charges are for some fancy clothes and lingerie he got me for the trip. He took some of my clothes with him to get the sizes right and got a lot of help from the salespeople. He says they are my style, but they could be bags for all I care at this point. So why the surprise? My sister told him that it would be better if it was a surprise, because it would be romantic that way. She didn't count on me finding out early and assuming the worst. I have had mild anxiety issues all my life that have been worse since having kids, but this was the worst it's ever been. I've never felt so totally out of control in my life. He didn't tell me all of this right away. Some of it came out in that first moment in the kitchen, but when I realized it was not the end of my marriage, I pretty much became incoherent with relief. This is embarrassing, but I sobbed so hard that I vomited a little. At least it was on the linoleum. The rest he told me after I calmed down. We talked until late last night. He showed me all the emails, showed me our destination. We got excited together. I am not mad at him at all, which he's relieved by. Apparently, my sister called him with a red alert, "Get home now before your wife calls a lawyer" message. She knows I have some anxiety issues, so I may have to get after her about the decision to keep this all a big secret from me. Right now, I'm too relieved to be upset. I am a little concerned by how unhinged I became. I think I need to work on that. It's not like me. What am I going to do if a real crisis comes along? Some people were saying that I am codependent. Maybe they are right. But that's for later. For now, I'm enjoying my day with the kids and looking forward to my trip. Thank you to all the advice and good wishes from you all. I'm sorry for worrying anyone. You are wonderful people to spend your time ready to help a stranger through the screen. I hope your lives can all take an unexpected yet wonderful turn. And with that story behind us, we move to another emotional turn, where a long-buried family secret leaves an 18-year-old questioning everything about his place in the family. My mom had an affair 18 years ago. I, 18, am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all this and told me that he will not pay for my college, while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. I have no idea how to process all this, and I am completely unprepared for what lies ahead. Both my older brother and sister went to the same college. My brother graduated 2 years ago. My sister is set to graduate in 2 years. Both had their college paid by our dad. Dad paid all their college expenses, including rent, food, their cars, pocket money, you name it. My brother has a job now, his own place, lives together with his fiancée, and has his life together. My sister already has a good-paying job, and my dad still pays for almost everything for her. I got accepted to the same college, which was always the plan, and was looking forward to talk with my parents about the next steps and ask them to help me the same they did for my siblings. I always assumed they had money put aside for my college, the way they had for my siblings. Instead, I was met with a story about my mom's cheating, how I am the result of her cheating, and how my dad is not willing to support me anymore moving forward. Dad told me that Mom had 18 years to let me know and prepare me for the future, but obviously she never did. He said it was never his place to say anything, since I am not his son, and didn't want to interfere with Mom's parenting. Apparently, my grandparents know I am not Dad's biological son, but they haven't bothered to tell me anything either. My siblings had no idea, and they're as surprised as I am, because there was never a hint of anything being off. I may be naive, but I always thought I had a great relationship with my dad. We go to see sports together, we go fishing together. He tutored me when I had difficulties with math. Dad is an engineer. He taught me to drive. I never got a hint he stores resentment towards me. I mean, he gave me my name and has explained what my name means, and he was very proud of it. It's a story he tells from time to time. He likes to talk about stuff like that about me. My mom has never said a word about anything, and apparently she was supposed to have the talk with me, but she never did. I feel abandoned and unprepared for what lies ahead. I am not even sure I will be able to go to college anymore. I always assumed my parents will pay for it. I never had a job, and I am not sure what job I can even get to support me through college. I have no idea how to apply for loans. All my mom has done is cry and apologize, but nothing of substance. She has no idea how to help me. I don't even know if I am welcomed home anymore. It's all up in the air. I feel shame leaving my room, and if I will be asked to move out, I don't know where to go. I don't have any savings, maybe $400 put together. I am angry at my mom. I am confused about where I stand with my dad. There's a man out there who is my father that never wanted to have anything to do with me. I feel rejected, and I have no idea what to do to fix this situation. Anyone have any idea what to do here? Do I apologize to my dad? What do I say to him? I don't know. I've been stuck in my room these past few days, reading and browsing Reddit. I have no idea what to do.
That's where the post ended, but here's some extra context from the comments. One commenter asked, "Did your dad know from the beginning that you were born from an affair?
Is his name listed on your birth certificate? OP responded, he knew from the beginning, as far as I understand. It's not recent news. He knew for 18 years. I tried talking with Mom, but she hasn't been very helpful. Bursts into tears and no productive discussion can be had. Until a few days ago, as far as I knew, he was my dad in any and all aspects. His name is on my birth certificate. I'm 18, a few months past it, not sure what legal responsibility he still has.
Another person in the comments wanted to know, are your parents already divorced, or did they just split up? Did they stay together for the kids? In response, OP explained, no, my parents are not divorced. I don't think they stayed together for the kids. As far as I can see, they've been very loving with each other. Go on dates, go on vacations together. Dad always takes Mom with him on his business trips. I don't think this makes a lot of sense.
A different user asked, does your older siblings know? OP replied to that comment saying, I only talked with them about me not being Dad's natural son. They don't know about the college thing yet. They are each out of town for a few more days. We'll talk with them when they come back. My siblings are not here right now. My sister is on a trip with her boyfriend and will be gone for another week. My brother is away with his fiancée to visit her parents. They are semi-aware of the situation, but I only talked with them about me not being Dad's natural son. I guess sooner or later they will have something to say. I don't know. I'll try and see if my brother can offer me a place to stay if my parents kick me out. I don't know. In a later update, OP shared that, sorry to disappear. Nothing bad happened to me. Managed to talk with my mom yesterday, but I chickened out halfway through what I had to say. The good news is I am not being kicked out or disowned, etc. Thank you for all your support, everyone. I will follow through and call financial aid at my college in a few hours and take it from there. My grandpa had a stroke a week ago, and my dad is helping my grandma with setting up a live-in nurse, so he wasn't around yesterday. I will let you know how I manage. With the next update, OP added, sorry for not updating. My grandpa passed away yesterday morning. Nothing happened to me, but my situation is a secondary concern right now. Regardless, I think I will be all right, thanks to your amazing support and help. My sister is aware of everything and told me not to worry. She has my back and I have her support. I promise to update when and if there are any significant changes. Right now, I need to support my grandma. Thank you again to everyone. A week later, OP came back with an update. The reaction to my original post put an uncomfortable amount of pressure on me to write this update. I am not sure if it's what you want to hear, but things are more or less back to a normal state, if you consider other events. Unfortunately, my grandpa died at the beginning of this week, and I am still processing it. I did manage to talk with both my mom and dad, and I know where I now stand in relation with them, as well as my siblings. I am not sure I would have had the courage to say what I had to say if not for the amount of help and advice in the comments. I think it is safe to say both my parents love me, and what happened 2 weeks ago was an overreaction to a fight between my parents. It makes me uncomfortable knowing I am not aware of my own environment, but a stranger in the comments can tell me what's happening in my life with only a few lines of text from my side. A lot of comments were spot on about what is happening in my life. I have so far went through 40%, I estimate, but I have given up. There are too many for me to keep up with. The conclusion is that I am definitely going to college. It will be the college I have always wanted to go to, and I will have the same experience as my siblings. The money to pay for all this already exists. My family is not going bankrupt, as suggested. My dad just had a mental breakup with all the issues around my grandpa and his fight with my mom. Even if my dad would have went through with his decision, my grandma let me know my grandpa left me and my siblings a sum we will have to split between the three of us, but enough to put me through college. What started the entire scandal was poor timing on my part. My parents just had a fight, and then I showed up, hey, pay for my college. My parents were talking about us, their children, and Mom said something to the lines of, "To think you wanted to split up when I came back pregnant," or something like that. I was not there. This is what she told me. I guess Dad was talking how proud he was of his children, and Mom wanted to express her gratitude for Dad raising me as his own, and Dad took it as the affair was the best decision I ever made, or something like that. And their fight escalated from there. And Mom told Dad something like, "What makes you think any of them are yours?" Yeah, it went downhill from there fast. Shortly after that, my dumb face showed up, and here I am. Dad and Mom have since made up. Mom is still a mess. Dad is not handling my grandpa's passing away too well either. I did talk with my siblings, and my sister raised a storm and wrote it here while blasting my parents on the phone. Ha! My brother was calmer, but made his feelings known in no uncertain terms as well, once he got back home. My grandpa passing away sort of kept spirits calm, I guess, and shifted the focus to dealing with that.
Reading the comments was a mind-opening experience. I felt unprepared for the world out there. Many have asked how I had no idea how to apply for loans or grants. Well, in my defense, when you go year after year after year knowing you have nothing to worry about, that your college is good as paid for already, you don't really have to worry about anything else. Of course, I knew there are loans and other things students have to be aware of, but it didn't apply to me. I went from, "I am going to college, can't wait," to, "You're not my son and I will not pay for your college," in less than 24 hours. Others have been prepared for this. At the very least, they knew they had to get a loan or get a job, look for a place to live, and so on. For me, it was a sudden change in reality. Going through the comments, I managed to put a list together with various tips and tricks, what jobs are available for students, how to find a place to live, how to get a credit card, a bank account, a cell phone plan, and so on. Really good stuff that I think, even after the return to normal, will help me. My parents have been called more names than they go by, and that was uncomfortable to read. And I haven't even read all comments. I can't even imagine what else lies in the comments waiting. Dad is very sorry, apologetic about his reaction and behavior. I understand his reaction, but I still feel hurt by it. I understand he was not in the best place of mind, but I can't control my feelings either. We will be all right, and this hasn't irreparably damaged our relationship. Mom hasn't handled everything that well, but she is coming around, and she answered some more questions for me. When Mom had an affair years ago and got pregnant with me, my parents started divorce. Mom moved in with the man she had the affair with, but after a few months, that guy decided he wants nothing to do with it. He kicked Mom out, and she had nowhere to go. So my grandparents took her in because she was still the mother of their nephew's grandkids. I am getting a lot of heat for this mistake, but no, in my family's culture, grandparents call their grandkids nephews as well. Mom and Dad got back together after a lot of work. Dad took me as his own, and that's my life since then. The man who is my natural father is not in the picture anymore. Dad didn't really know who he is, and Mom hasn't heard or seen him ever since. He was fully aware Mom was pregnant with his child. I guess he had more important things to do. But it doesn't sound like he was about to cure world hunger. She met him in a bar, not at a fundraiser. And I don't feel a need to know any more about who he is. I thought about the matter the last 2 weeks, since I've been aware of everything, and haven't really felt a desire to know who he is, where he is, if he is still alive, if I have other siblings out there. I was suggested to go and buy a DNA kit from 23andMe. Maybe I can find him that way. But I think I will avoid doing this specifically, so I don't find him or he finds me. As far as I care, I have a mom and dad and a brother and a sister, and that's my family. Moving forward, I do plan of getting a job and becoming more independent, but not in an attempt to distance myself from my family, but to feel like I would not be lost in the world if my family suddenly disappears. My mom admits I've been babied way more than my siblings, and that they should have prepared me more for what's coming next. I did learn where I stand with my family, and it's safe to say that I am loved and I have options. I thought I am isolated, but my world is wider than I thought. Grandparents, siblings, my aunt, my cousins, all have my back. I think my parents are human and they make mistakes. And even though this was not their greatest moment, I think I will look at everything as nothing more than a weak moment in an otherwise wonderful relationship. And with that heavy family revelation, we move into a very different kind of dilemma, where distance, trust, and a too close friend leave a boyfriend wondering if love alone is enough. Long-distance girlfriend 28F has close male friend who likes her. I'm 28M, wondering what to do. My girlfriend is righteous, fair, and caring to the extreme. She wouldn't hurt a fly. Case in point, I once killed an ant that was on the table, and she actually cried, with real tears, because she cares, and because she can't see any being, no matter which one, be in pain. Now, on to my issue. We're in a long-distance relationship, and there's this guy at her work that is really desperately in love with her, in my opinion. It started out as them becoming running partners while she was preparing for a marathon. They run together 3 times a week before work, and long runs at that, sometimes 20, 30K. They talk a lot during those and got to know each other. Then they hang out at work. They eat together and talk more. They are both kind of foodies. Actually, that's one of the special things between me and her. So they exchange things they cooked. For example, jam in exchange for honey, homemade bread, things like that. Then sometimes they go to parties together, though as far as I know, he's invited her a couple of times and she's always declined to go to a party just with him. If they are at a party together, it's because it's a group thing and they belong to the same group of people. Anyway, they go to parties and I think they hang out nicely there too. Lastly, although she declines to go party one-on-one with him, they do hang out together on Sunday afternoons and the like. So I'm 100% sure that this guy is super into her. He does everything he can to hang out with her. Now onto her side. She wouldn't hurt me. I was wondering for a while whether she was capable of cheating behind my back and not telling me. In other words, her version of not hurting me. But I'm pretty sure that's not an option because, 1, we see each other often, every 2 weeks, and it's miraculously amazing every single time. Mind-blowing. Never seen such synergy in any couple. Everything. The conversation, the love, the activities we do, the sex, absolutely everything. 2, we talk on the phone all the time, every single evening. There's literally no available time in which she could actually cheat on me unless they meet from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. or something ridiculous like that. And 3, she's pretty blunt. I don't think she would hide something like that. She's not the type to be afraid to break up. I think if she felt like it, she'd just do it because it would feel right.
Having said that, I don't know what to do. Just like I'm 100% sure that the guy would love to be in a couple with her, I think she is also not indifferent, and she would definitely go for it if she weren't with me. They're a pretty good match. They have similar backgrounds, more similar than her and I. They work at the same place and like hanging out at the same spots. They speak the same language, whereas with me, she has to speak in English. None of us are native. He's a cool guy, young, smart, sportsy. He's got a lot going for him. It's a funny situation. On the one hand, it's super awesome to have a girl that's so true to you. I'm really sure she's not cheating. That's not the problem here. On the other hand, I'm also pretty damn sure that if we weren't together, she'd be with that guy. It would just make absolutely no sense to not be with him. So the question is that an okay situation? Could one see it as her just keeping the guy as a backup in case we break up? And is that an okay thing to do? Is it an indication that I'm not showing her enough proof of my affection and she believes there's a possibility of breakup?
Alternatively, she's somewhat naive about many things. Is it actually possible that she doesn't notice anything? That she really thinks they're just friends and he has no special intentions? On the possibility that she's afraid of a breakup and keeps him as a backup, unfortunately, I can't go much further with our current situation to give her a promise of security. We're long distance, so I wouldn't do anything crazy like proposing to her when we've never lived together. I guess the only reasonable thing I could do is quit my job and move to her city. But I love my job so much and I'm doing so well at it that it would be really hard for me to do that. Note that for the eventual plan, when we'd move in together, we would go to a city where I can keep working for the same company. There are many such cities, but sadly, the one she lives in is not one of those where we have an office. I almost feel bad because they'd be such a great couple. I feel like I should just make it easy for her and let her be with that guy. Be done with the long distance, let them be married in their city, and have a happy life together. With me, we have another 1 to 2 years of long distance to get through, and then we'd probably have to both move to another city to be together. We've talked a lot about it. We're both okay with that plan. We both can't wait to move in together. But when you take a step back, it would just make so much more sense for them to be together. I guess sometimes love does strange things. I don't know if I should bring this up to her at all. As I said, nothing bad is actually happening at the moment. I just want to avoid that in 1 year she suddenly has a change of heart and goes with him, and we all realized we lost 1 year of our lives. And frankly, if that happens, the two of them would still be fine. But the biggest loser would be me, since I'd be all alone and I'd have to start everything over. The stupidest part is that this wouldn't be a question at all if we lived in the same city, because then she'd obviously spend all her time with me and she wouldn't have this enormous amount of time spent with this other guy. I don't know what to do. I'm happy with her and she's happy with me. I just don't want to wake up one day and realize it was all a waste. I'm in my prime years now. I won't be anymore in 2-3 years. Edit. Maybe a reasonable thing to do would be to talk to the guy. There aren't many opportunities for me to do so, but he might be at a gathering that we're going to attend next weekend. Sorry, don't want to give too many details. OP left the post there, but came back 5 years later with an update. Let's hear it. I brought up the topic and she was super cool about it. She was surprised and she said that it was just friendship on her side. However, she went up to the guy and asked him if he saw things the same way. He said he didn't. He was actually into her. So she told him that she's with me and that they need to stop hanging out. It was never an issue after that. We still met him at a few parties, but it didn't make me feel bad at all. Reading the old post made me smile. It felt like a big issue back then, but she solved it so swiftly. I'm really thankful to her. We've had the most wonderful relationship since then, and even before then. We're 33 years old now, and still going strong together. We moved in together a couple of years ago, and it's been amazing. Living together, traveling together, being together all the time. She's still so sweet. I love her with the bottom of my heart, and it's obvious she loves me too. You never know how these things will turn out, but ours is a story to fill your hearts with hope and love. P.S. Now I'll delete the password to this throwaway and any reference to it on my computer. It feels nice to close the loop. That chapter shows how fragile long distance can feel. Now, our next story turns to friendship and love, where a confession doesn't go the way she hoped until everything changes just a week later. I, 26F, confessed to my best friend, 26M, and was rejected. A week later, he says he was wrong and has actually loved me all along. What do I do? I finally built up the courage to confess to my best friend that I had feelings for him for the past 2 years. He was really nice about it and let me down gently, but in no uncertain terms. It was a hard pill to swallow, but I accepted this, and I told him I'd need some time to just get back to the right headspace. I took a week to separate myself from him and let myself recover and rebuild my self-esteem. But I made sure to tell him there's no hard feelings, I just need the space. Fast forward to today, I ran into him and decided to talk to him and apologize for putting him in an uncomfortable position, but that I accept his feelings and I'm ready to continue our relationship as friends. Except he tells me that he took that week to think too, and he thinks he's actually loved me for a long time, but that he was too dense to recognize his own feelings until now. I feel like I should be elated, but for some reason my heart just really hurts. I feel confused and unsure of what to believe. For all the time I've known him, he's never been the type to play with someone else's feelings, and has never given me any reason to think he's lying to me now about how he feels towards me. But I don't understand how someone can just go from having no romantic feelings towards someone to saying they've loved them all along in such a short time. I feel like I've been asked to tear out a piece of my heart, sew it shut, and now suddenly open that same wound to put everything back the way it was. Should I just accept his feelings now? Should I be wary of this? I feel like this should be such an easy decision, and yet I just feel so confused. Only 5 hours later, OP returned with a short update. Hey guys, I really appreciate all of your advice. I didn't expect this to get as much attention as it did, and I'm truly grateful for it. Thank you for gold too. I've already messaged him to ask if we can talk in person later today, and we'll update on what happens. For those looking for more detail on what happened when he confessed, I'm not so sure it was that I ran into him, so much as it was that he purposely put himself somewhere he knew I'd be. I like going to the park near my house to stay in shape, and he was by the entrance around the same time I had finished up. We said hi to one another, and I tried to be as casual as possible to go back to how things were before. I apologized immediately for putting him in an uncomfortable position and told him I'd be just fine and not to worry because I'm glad we could still stay friends. As I was telling him this, he just seemed to deflate, and I asked him what was on his mind, and he told me that he does have feelings for me after all, and that they've been there all along, but he just didn't recognize them as romantic love. Honestly, I kind of freaked out there and told him to hold on because I was confused and didn't really know what to believe anymore. He told me he was sorry for confusing me and hurting me, and he understood if I needed time to think. I told him I did and sort of just left it there. Until, well, here we are. After 3 days, OP shared an update. Thank you all for all of your advice and kind comments. We met in person to talk things through, and I asked him what changed. He told me that the truth was that he'd never really felt romantically interested in anyone else before, so he genuinely didn't really know how to distinguish a best friend from something more. I know he's never had a relationship before. He's never expressed a romantic interest in anyone else and never seemed to express a sexual attraction to someone else. So this seems to line up from what I know of him. I asked him then how he knew for sure that he liked me as more than a friend. He said he'd never felt this way towards anyone else, never felt nervous butterflies just wanting to see them, never felt a strange jealousy when another guy was trying to hit on them, and never felt his heart race when he accidentally brushed hands with them. I told him that I wanted to make sure he wasn't confusing any guilt he may feel for turning me down for love. He said that if he wanted to pity me, he would have just said yes the first time. He apologized again for confusing and hurting me and said that if I still needed time, he'd be willing to wait, take things slow, and keep talking more until I could figure my feelings out. I told him I didn't need more time to know how I felt because I never really stopped loving him, even if I had pushed those feelings down as far as I could. I told him that I wanted to take things slow, but I wanted to do so as more than just friends. We talked for a while. He even told me how he actually had come to the park planning to confess and ask me out. But when he heard me apologize to him and say that I was ready to just be friends, he realized it might be better to take things slow. Of course, at the end of all this, I just sort of happy/relief cried like a dork, and he just pulled me close and hugged me, though he had some happy tears himself. We're planning to order some food from one of our favorite restaurants and have a picnic date at the same park next week. And with that emotional roller coaster between friends, we move into a marriage tested by temptation, where a wife finds herself caught between her husband of 8 years and the pull of someone at work she can't ignore. I, 29F, have been with husband 29M for 8 years. I have feelings for a coworker, 30M, that I can't shake. I've been with my wonderful husband since we were 21. We have an amazing relationship with each other, still make time for dates every week, and really just enjoy each other. He became my best friend pretty instantly from when we started hanging out in high school, and that still hasn't changed today. I have a girlfriend who I do call my best friend, and outside of my marriage, she is. But even that doesn't compare to the friendship I have with my husband. We've had our rough patches, but never anything very severe. There are some things I need to change about myself and things he needs to work on as well. Nothing relationship ending, just things that we need to do to be better people and better partners. And I doubt this will ever change, as it's impossible to just be perfect people. We don't have any children, nor are children in our future. We both work and bring home pretty decent money, although we've both had small patches of unemployment in the past, and we're supported by the other. There's never been any hostility over the finances, regardless of who is making more or who is supporting whom. Our marriage has survived depression, alcoholism, and a couple of physical medical conditions, all met with overwhelming support from each other. We are a great team. Our sex life is great and really active. A dry spell for us is going the work week without having sex because one or both of us are just too exhausted, but that is not very common. We get along well with each other's families, and my family has really bonded with my husband. As far as they are concerned, he's just another son, brother. He's everything I could have ever hoped for in a husband, and more, and I really, truly love him. Now, I've felt myself attracted to others in the past, and I'm sure he has been through the same, but it's not anything we've ever discussed with each other. I know that it's normal, and it's never been anything too intense before. If I find myself starting to get feelings for someone who I see a lot, it doesn't take much to shake off.
This is the first time I've ever dealt with feelings so intense, and I don't really know what to do next.
My coworker is very attractive, super friendly, and I just enjoy being around him. We started working at this company around the same time, roughly 8 months ago. We were in training together for a couple of weeks, which was absolute torture. My feelings came on strong and came on quick. I'm sure I've turned red when he flashes me a smile. It would be embarrassing enough if I were single, simply because we work together, but I'm married, and I feel like that probably looks really poorly on me. We don't work together anymore, but our departments are close, and if he walks through my section, he'll put his hand on my shoulder and give it a squeeze to get my attention when he's walking by, then flash me that smile. I'll make conversation if we pass each other or are at a work event together, but I do the same with pretty much everyone I've worked with slash currently work with. We don't have each other on social media, haven't exchanged numbers, and don't see each other outside of work. I was invited out to a bar nearby by him and a few others a couple of times, but turned them down. I work in a male-dominated field and didn't feel right being the only woman out at the bar with a bunch of guys, especially one who I do feel this way about. I avoid his floor at work when possible, and if he's on lunch at the same time, I'll say hi as I pass, but just grab my stuff and eat on the patio or on another floor. I try to just avoid thinking about him or remind myself of how dumb I'm being, but I can't shake this feeling. I'm not afraid I'm going to be an idiot and let passion take over or any of that nonsense. And I think all of those excuses for one-time mistakes are garbage. I'm in control of my actions and could never be so cruel to my husband. I just don't know what to do to shake these feelings. The last time I felt such a strong desire for someone was when I met my husband. We were great friends instantly and hung out or fooled around for about a year before we made things serious. I was very young when we got together, and none of my relationships prior were very serious. I just never felt so strongly attracted to someone and didn't think it was even possible to with anyone else. I don't compare my husband to my coworker or vice versa, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I've just been able to shake it off anytime I've had feelings come on for someone else. It doesn't matter what I do with this guy, though. If I think about it, it's hard to get him off my mind, regardless of what's going on around me. I have gone weeks without running into him, and he won't cross my mind. But then I can catch a glimpse of him when I'm strolling into work, and my heart will start racing faster. I have a desire to be around him and be close to him, and I just need it to go away. I feel like I'm in high school all over again, except instead of daydreaming in class, I'm trying to get this dude off my mind and get some damn work done. I know that Reddit is big on full disclosure, but this is not something I will be discussing with my husband. These feelings aren't coming out of neglect or want in my relationship with him. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by being with him, and there's nothing that he can do that would fix this for me. If he were feeling the same way about someone, I can honestly say I wouldn't want to hear about it. If he felt neglected and like my actions were causing him to desire affection elsewhere, then that would be a different story. I know that this is something that would affect him really bad, and I don't want him to feel uncomfortable for the 40 to 50 hours a week that I'm in the same building with this guy, when there's nothing he could do or say that would change what's going on with me, and there's no chance of me crossing a line. I just don't see the purpose in creating an issue in my marriage
when there isn't one. Before the update, I would like to clear something up that I think I may have worded poorly. My job is not male-dominated in the sense that there's 300 employees and like 4 women. We're probably closer to 25 to 30% female employees, the rest being male. We all give each other a hard time and play around, and it's not just all the guys here petting on the women. I've only had female coworkers mess with my hair as they're running by, similar to what I do with my sisters. The extent of touch that I've gotten or given to any of the guys here has been a pat on the back for a good job and a rough close, handshakes, pat on the shoulder and passing to get their attention while going to make copies, and I've hugged one male coworker who was retiring and whose wife was there for the retirement party. This isn't a stuffy office setting, but this isn't HR's nightmare either. That being said, I did need to find a way to put distance between coworker and myself, given the reaction he got out of me even with something as simple as eye contact. So now on to the update. I am friends with my husband's boss's wife and gave her a call to help get his time off. His employer is very lenient on time off, and I just set it up so that they were expecting him to call out. We had a romantic extended weekend away, and it gave me a chance to really appreciate him. Thank you to the Redditors who advised putting more focus on us. I don't think I would have planned the surprise otherwise. Now, back to work. A lot has happened in the last month, and I'm planning on going no contact with coworker the very second that I can. Shortly after I returned, I found out that he had put in for a transfer into my department and had also been added onto my team. No problem, I'm an adult, and I can behave like an adult. And the time away to clear my head and reevaluate where I was putting my energy had had a bigger effect than I anticipated. Well, things got a little weird. He started grabbing me coffee when he'd pick his up because I took on a new project and was showing up earlier, staying later than normal, but didn't do this for anyone else whose workload had increased. About 4 of us took on new clients. Our lunches lined up a little more frequently. I got friend follow requests on social media, declined, stuff like that. I felt like he would stand a little closer to me than what was comfortable, but at this point still felt like I was reading too much into it. It was confusing and difficult given that this feeling isn't wanted, but I do just feel drawn to him, like there's a connection I desperately want to break. I always park by the smoking section because I have a filthy habit and like to be close, and he caught me tonight while I was walking out to my car. He stopped me and asked to bum a smoke, and we talked for a couple of minutes. He then said he had something kind of uncomfortable to talk to me about. He told me he had felt really attracted to me since we first met, and that working more closely with me has shown him that he has some real feelings for me. He says he knows that I am married and will respect any boundaries I set up, but that he hasn't felt this strongly about someone before, and he couldn't live with the what-ifs. Apparently, he went so far as to end things with his girlfriend and is now staying with his parents for a couple of weeks while he gets a new place lined up. He said he could feel something between us and didn't think it was only him. I told him that I am very happily married and that he shouldn't mistake my friendliness with flirtation, and that he needs to learn more appropriate boundaries with coworkers. I asked him to give me distance, and that if it wasn't work-related, there was no reason to discuss it because we are coworkers, not friends, and left. He looked a little defeated and apologized for overstepping. My husband is out of town on a work trip, so I had to come home to an empty house, feeling the weirdest mix of emotions I've had since this whole mess started. Like someone mentioned in my last post,
This is most definitely something wonky going on with our pheromones, causing the weird flutter of emotions. The way he came across letting me know he was okay if I cheated on my husband with him painted him in a whole new light. He doesn't seem like this charming guy anymore, just a douchebag who probably hasn't been told no enough times in his life. I have trouble falling asleep by myself, and this whole situation has been a mess. So sorry for any weird formatting. I'm exhausted and figured I may as well update while everything is fresh. I'm confused. I still think he's really attractive, but I'm equally repulsed by him as a person overall.
Edit? Well, this certainly blew up way more than expected. I just wanted to thank those of you who responded with advice and kind words. A special thanks to everyone who didn't read the first post and have been calling me a tease and a slut. It's nice to get a good laugh in. To those who missed my comments addressing it, my husband will be given full details of our encounters when he returns home. I don't want him getting worked up while he's so far away. I won't be telling him about my feelings towards coworker because they are irrelevant to the situation that is now progressing.
Anyways, mini update. I didn't go into work today, but I did get an email from coworker. It starts with what seems like a sincere apology to then offering to buy me dinner this weekend to make it up to me. I responded with, "Your advances made me very uncomfortable, and I will say again that I am not interested in seeing you outside of work." His second email was another apology while making sure I knew the offer for dinner as friends to make it up to me would still be on the table. I did not respond to the second one, and he has not reached out again today. I am in a bit of a weird place, growing a bigger dislike towards coworker while still having those weird primal feelings. Planning a nice dinner in and some Netflix and chill when my husband gets home. Definitely putting in for a department change when one becomes available. I've spent a little time browsing job postings, but I do love where I work, so I don't think that's the best solution.
That story leaves us in the middle of conflicting loyalties. Now, our next one takes us into family struggles, where a daughter worries as her mother risks her health to please her partner.
Me, 19 female, with my mother, 45 female. She has been gaining weight on purpose for her boyfriend over the past year. It's starting to affect her health. What can I do? This post will be a little long, but please read it. I think the details are important, and I am hoping that someone can give me some advice because I am out of options. The problem relates to my mother and her weight gain over the last year or so. It started sometime last spring, summer, a few months after she had started dating her current boyfriend, Mike. Prior to that point, she was in decent shape. My mom was always a bit overweight during my childhood and teenage years, but after my parents split up, which was about 2.5 years ago, she started taking better care of herself. We became running and diet partners, and she eventually reached the 130s, although her weight still fluctuated some. Sometime around late January of last year, she met Mike. He seemed like a nice enough guy when I met him, and they soon became serious. I think it is important to note that Mike is the first serious relationship my mom has had since she split with my dad. In any event, things were fine heading into the summer of last year. Then sometime around my high school graduation in June, she told me that she needed to have an important conversation with me. When we talked, she told me that she was going to be seriously cutting back on our runs. She said that it was because she wanted to put on some weight and become curvier again. Mike had told her that he preferred women who were more curvy, and she wanted to please him. She also said that she wanted to relax for a little while and not worry so much about her weight. I didn't really think that much about it at the time. I assumed that my mom knew what she was doing, so I just left it at that and didn't really try to discourage her. She seemed content with her decision, and I was happy to see her relationship with Mike going so well. After our conversation, my mom cut her runs with me from 4 to 5 days a week to just 1 to 2 days a week, and she started walking instead of running or jogging. She also stopped being so strict with her diet. She had cut out things like sodas and junk food in order to lose weight, but she started eating and drinking them again. As you can guess, she started to put on some of the weight she had lost. By the time I went to college last fall, she had probably put on about 15 to 20 pounds, which put her back around what she weighed when she was still with my dad. I wasn't that worried, though. My mom carried the weight well and seemed happy with her decision and her relationship with Mike. I didn't see or speak to my mom that much for the next month or so until I came home for fall break. That was the first time I had seen her since move-in weekend, and she had put on even more weight. I didn't ask her how much, didn't really think it was any of my business at that point, but I thought it would be okay if I tried to subtly encourage her to be a little healthier, especially since she had stopped exercising altogether by this point. I tried to get her to go on a run with me over break, but she would just give me an excuse each time, like too cold, too tired, etc., or Mike would discourage her. I also couldn't help but notice that her diet had become even worse. It seemed like almost everything she ate now was fast food or some kind of junk food. I suspected that this was mostly Mike's doing, since he was always bringing home unhealthy food and avoiding things like fruits and vegetables. Still, I didn't really feel like it was my place to sing anything yet, so I left it be. I did ask her if things with Mike were okay or if something was bothering her. She said that everything was fine, so I just said okay. I went back to school and didn't come back home again until Thanksgiving break, but it was more of the same. My mom had gained more weight. I am not sure exactly what she weighed at this point, but I know she was larger. I hadn't planned to say anything, but I got worried after watching her eat over break. Even though I knew it was normal for people to indulge over Thanksgiving, it seemed like she was always eating. I would see Mike constantly bringing her snacks or something, and Mom would eat it. Even if she said she was full or not hungry, he would make a big fuss until she gave in and ate whatever it was he brought her. I made a point to speak to my mom and told her that I noticed she had still been gaining weight and it was starting to worry me. I told my mom that if she continued to gain weight, it would have a negative impact on her health. She told me that she had just been enjoying herself and the freedom of not having to worry about her weight and what she was eating. She said that Mike told her that he didn't care if she gained more weight after the first 20 pounds and had actually encouraged her to get bigger and curvier. I asked her why she had decided to stop caring about herself and her weight, and my mom told me that Mike had helped her see that she was always meant to be an overweight woman. She now believed that she looked better if she was larger and said that she planned to gain some more weight. I asked her when she planned to stop, and she said when she got to around 200 pounds. I sort of lost it there. I told her that she was eating herself to death and that she needed to eat healthier, be more active, and lose some weight. We had a huge fight, and I wound up leaving early to go back to school. After the Thanksgiving incident, she messaged me and told me that she was an adult and would not be lectured to or controlled by her child. My mom also told me that if I wanted to live in her house, I needed to respect her choices and not interfere with them or her relationship with Mike. I also got an email from Mike. It said basically the same thing. Respect my relationship with your mother and her choices, or don't come home. He had moved into my mom's house by this point.
I decided to spend Xmas and New Year's with my dad and his family, and I didn't come home during the spring semester.
I just recently finished school and moved back into my mom's house for the summer. I had kept up with her through Facebook and knew she had still been gaining weight, but I didn't realize how big she had gotten until I got home. I would guess she is somewhere around, if not over 200 pounds now. Everything about her is bigger. She doesn't even look like my mom anymore because of how much weight she has gained in her face. She is mostly sedentary now, other than what she does at her office during the day. After she gets home, she sits on the couch and gorges herself. I am shocked at how much she eats now. Mike is always bringing her food and encouraging her to eat, and she is happy to stuff herself each night until she has a belly ache. My mom will also wake up each night and go into the kitchen to fix herself a snack, which is really just another large meal. They don't even hide the fact that my mom is actively trying to get fatter. Mike has encouraged my mom to buy larger sizes of clothing for my mom so that she has room to grow, and she agreed. I have also heard Mike and my mom talk about her trading in her car to get something that will be more comfortable for her as she gets bigger. It is crazy.
I know this is what they both want, but the extra weight is starting to impact her health. She gets out of breath very easily now and complains if she has to do a moderate amount of physical activity, e.g., walk a long distance from a parking lot to a store, etc. She also has developed minor knee and back problems and is always tired, and I know that this will only get worse if she continues to gain weight. However, she blames these problems on her age and on her asthma rather than her weight. It is breaking my heart to see her doing this to herself. I am so afraid that she is going to die young and leave me without my mother if she continues down this path. I tried bringing up the subject again the other night, even though I knew that Mike and my mom would get upset.
I asked her at dinner if we could maybe try to eat less fast food and junk food, and if she could stop trying to actively gain weight, and she got mad. She told me that I was a vain person, and that not everyone wanted to be a shapeless rail. Some women want to have curves. After that, Mike came into my room and told me that if I said anything else, my mom had agreed with him that I would have to find another place to live for the summer. He also told me that I just needed to accept that my mom is a larger woman and that she will be getting larger. I asked him what he meant and mentioned that she said she would stop at around 200, and he told me that they both had decided that she should keep gaining past that. I got angry with him, but was afraid to say more. I don't doubt that he would kick me out of my mom's house, and I am not sure if my mom would try to stop him. I tried contacting my sister about this, but seeing as she lives in another state and doesn't get along with our mom, she didn't really have anything to say. My dad doesn't want to get involved either, since he has a fiance and his own life. I would speak to some of my mom's friends, but I don't know if that would work. She hasn't had much to do with them since she started dating Mike, so I don't know if they would feel comfortable intervening. There isn't any other close family members on my mom's side that I could talk to. I really would appreciate any help or advice. I want to say something again, but I know how that will end. I guess I'm wondering if it's better to take a final desperate stand or bite my tongue and try to help my mom in a more subtle way. Or should I just accept that my mom is an adult and has to make her own choices and mistakes? I hadn't planned on posting an update, especially after how everything turned out. But since many of you have been messaging me, expressing concern, I thought that it would be okay. I read all of the comments that people made in the first post many times, but I still was unsure of whether or not I should say anything and risk getting kicked out of my mom's house. However, I felt like I had to say something
after I continued to watch my mom, at Mike's encouragement, overeat. I came to the conclusion that my mom's life and health were too important for me to stand by and say nothing while she slowly killed herself. I knew that I would stand a better chance to help her if I planned out my strategy ahead of time instead of getting angry and exploding like I've done in the past, which went very poorly. I did what one of you suggested and invited my mom out to eat lunch one day so I could get a chance to speak with her alone. I knew that if Mike were around, that I would have no chance of getting her to listen to me. Like some of you suggested, I printed off some materials about abusive relationships and feeder relationships to give to her when our conversation was over. At lunch, I basically repeated what I had told her in the past, that I was concerned about her health because I wanted her to be around for a long time. But I did emphasize that I respected her role as my mother and her ability to make choices for herself as an adult. I told her that I was just concerned and wanted her to have the ability to make informed choices, but ultimately, I would respect whatever decision she reached. My mom did not respond to what I said well. She started getting upset, and she got particularly angry about me mentioning feeder relationships. She told me that none of this applied in her case. Mike just liked curvy women. She also accused me of being jealous and insecure about her relationship with Mike, and she said some other hurtful things. She continued to deny that her relationship with Mike was abusive and that her weight was causing her any health problems, even though I think there's no longer any doubt that both are true. When we got back home, she told me that I had 2 days to move out, so I spent the rest of my summer at my dad's house. I didn't see my mom again until 2 weeks ago. I had to go back to her place to pick up the stuff I left there. I can't say that I was surprised to see that she'd continued to put on weight. I was surprised to see the state of the house, though. It was an absolute mess. There were all kinds of takeout boxes and food containers all over the place. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned since I left. I tried to get out as quickly as I could, but before I left, my mom said she wanted to speak with me. She told me that I needed to know that Mike had asked her to marry him, and she had accepted his proposal. The wedding would be taking place soon, and I was invited to come if I apologized to the two of them for my behavior. She then informed me that they were looking to move to Oregon. Mike has family out there, and since my mom has no close friends or family here anymore, mostly because of Mike, she thought it would be a good move to start over. I didn't really know what to say. So I just told her I was glad she was happy. I honestly don't know what, if anything, I can do. I want to believe that there's something else I can do, but I have no idea what that would be. I hope that she'll eventually realize what Mike is doing and will ask for help. Even though things didn't turn out well, thank you all for your help. At least we tried. And we close with a story about trust and boundaries, as a girlfriend starts to wonder if her partner's closeness with a coworker has gone a step too far. I'm 28F, unsure if it's time to draw boundaries with my boyfriend, 28M, and his coworker, late 20s F, who he got close to very quickly. Apologies for the length. I'm going to be very thorough, and also a lot has happened in a very short amount of time. First, some background, and the good stuff. I have been best friends with my boyfriend since 2013. We even lived together during graduate school for 2 years before we started dating. We started dating in 2016 when we were roommates, So, we've been together for about 2.5 years now and have lived together for a lot of that time. We did a brief stint of long distance when we got jobs in different locations after school. In January of this year, he moved states to be with me, and I still can't get over how amazing that was of him. We are now living together again in our own apartment, and we couldn't be happier. He is my best friend, and absolutely the person I plan to spend the rest of my life with. He's smart, funny, an absolute sweetheart, and a romantic, and he makes me feel so loved every day. We have talked about our future many times, and I'm anticipating a proposal in the near future. Also, he has had many female friends during our time together, and this has never bothered me. I'm rarely the jealous type. He's hung out one-on-one with girls before, and I had no complaints. There has been one girl I told him I was uncomfortable with, and he stopped hanging out with her, but that was for a lot of reasons, and not just because she's a girl.
So, on to the recent issue. After moving to my state, he had to pass a couple of tests in our field before he could start working. He did so and was able to secure a job in early June. He likes his new job so far, and generally likes and gets along with his coworkers, but he hadn't really made any real friends yet. He's hung out with my coworkers and sort of friends too. I'm also pretty new to the area and likes them as well, but no one he would hang out with one-on-one. I know he is missing having a group of friends back in his home state where he moved from. About a month ago, maybe a little more, he started mentioning one coworker a lot. We'll call her Liz. At first, it was just in passing, "Oh, my coworker Liz said this or that." It also turns out Liz used to work with an organization that works closely with my organization, so she knows a lot of people that I work with and what's going on with my job and field of work. So it was a small world kind of thing. She would mention someone I knew or something about my job, and he would tell her he also knew that person because of me, that kind of thing. But he started talking about her more and more often. I'm talking probably every single day. Over for a few weeks, he would have a story about Liz or something that she said, so I knew they were talking or hanging out at work a lot. He did say that Liz mentioned she wanted to meet me, and she has a fiance that she lives with, so that made me feel good. Nothing to worry about, and I was happy he was making a friend here. Liz actually lived nearby us in a temporary place because they were moving around for her fiance's job. So a couple of weeks ago, he tells me that Liz suggested they start carpooling to work together. Their office is about 30 minutes away without traffic, but our city always has traffic, so it's more like 45 minutes each way most days. Honestly, this made me a little uncomfortable, since this meant they would be spending 1 to 1.5 hours alone together in the car every time they rode together. But I didn't say anything, because they wouldn't be carpooling every day. Some days they work in the office, and other days they work on projects around town. So this would only be days when they both go into the office, maybe 2 or 3 days a week. Besides, he only mentioned it in passing as an idea at first. A few days later, as he was headed out the door, he said, "Okay, I'm going to go pick up Liz and head into work." I was surprised because he never told me they decided to definitely start carpooling together, but it obviously wasn't a big deal. He has never mentioned it again, so as far as I know, that's the only day they've ridden together. It hasn't been an ongoing thing. I was fine with this. Things started intensifying quickly last week, though. As I mentioned, Liz and her fiancé were in a temporary place before, so they decided to start looking for a permanent apartment. My boyfriend casually mentioned to me one day last week,
that they were actually interested in our building and that they wanted to come see it the next day. This came out of left field to me. Our building is very nice. It's a luxury building in a good area downtown, but there are also tons of similar buildings in the area. But I figured they were just checking out all kinds of places, and ours was probably one of many on the list. So late last week, they came by our building for a tour. I actually saw them briefly on the elevator, and we met for the first time. But they were being given a tour by management, so we didn't hang out. Well, later that night, Liz texted my boyfriend that they decided to rent in our building. I honestly didn't know what to say because I wasn't thrilled. I felt like now they will definitely want to start carpooling together every day they can, and they will start becoming even closer. My boyfriend was obviously very happy about it when he told me. I just kind of asked if they were looking at any other places and why they weren't looking any closer to where she and my boyfriend work, and he said they just really liked this building and her fiancé works more closely to our area, so it works for them to live here. Obviously, there was nothing I could say, so I just said, cool. Ever since then, I feel like they have already been talking more and more. They text and have called each other a couple of times. To be fair, as far as I know, it has all been either work or apartment related. But I also don't really see his phone and have no idea how much they actually talk. A couple of final things prompted me to write this post. Up until now, I wasn't thrilled about all of this, but could deal with it. This weekend, we traveled to visit my family for the holiday weekend. Yesterday, during a family lunch, he got up and went into the other room with his phone for a few minutes. When he came back, I asked, "Where'd you go?" And he just said, "I was getting a phone call." Later, I asked who was calling him at lunch. He said it was Liz with a few questions because they were moving in at the time. This slightly bothered me because I feel like if I hadn't asked, he wasn't planning to tell me it was Liz who called. He went back to our city last night, while I am staying in my hometown with my family for a couple of extra days. While driving him to the airport, I got a random thought, so I asked, "You're just going to take an Uber back home, right?" That's how we got to the airport. He kind of hesitated and then said, "I was actually going to see if maybe Liz could pick me up, so I don't have to spend money on an Uber." Yet again, I felt like he never would have mentioned this to me if I hadn't asked. Also, we live close to the airport, so an Uber is not expensive, and he makes good money. I reminded him that Liz and her fiancé were moving that day and probably did not want to come pick him up at the airport. I would have said this for anyone. Moving sucks. And he thought about it and agreed. He didn't end up asking her. I don't know what to do from here. On one hand, I am genuinely glad he's making a friend. There are no red flags so far. Things seem 100% platonic. Plus, she has a fiancé, so we could all be couple friends. On the other hand, he seems to be getting really close to her really quickly. He talks about her constantly, a lot more than I explained in this post. They are probably going to be riding together often, and I feel like he is starting to, unconsciously or not, kind of hide some interactions with her from me. Is it time to set boundaries? If so, what would reasonable boundaries even be? Is carpooling together too much? Is it okay for them to hang out alone together outside of work? I have no idea, and I've never been in this situation before. I don't know how to talk to him about this. I just feel like we need to have a talk now that she is living in our building, but maybe I should wait and see if things escalate. Following this post, OP didn't say anything for 3.5 months, then came back with an update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I got some good advice there, so I wanted to post an update. After I made the last post, I came home from the trip with my family a couple of days later.
I told my boyfriend that I wanted to talk to him about something, and I brought up his friendship with Liz. I basically brought up all of my concerns from the post. I told him that I didn't want to discourage him from having a friend, but I also felt like they were talking quite a lot and spending a lot of time together, and that it was starting to make me feel uncomfortable. My boyfriend took it really well. He immediately reassured me that he only saw her as a friend and that he hadn't even realized how it could look to me. When I brought up how I felt like he wasn't being forthcoming with information, like how he didn't mention the phone call from her, he said that was 100% unintentional. He then immediately asked what he could do going forward to make me feel more comfortable. He offered to stop carpooling with her and to cut down on contact with her, except for work-related stuff. I told him I didn't have a problem with the carpooling because financially, it does make sense. He spends a lot of money on gas. But maybe he could try to text and call her outside of work a little bit less. I also told him I would really love to meet her and her fiancé, and he enthusiastically agreed. He set up a hangout for the following weekend. The two of us and Liz and her fiancé all went out for drinks at a bar by our building. They're moved in by now. It was actually really fun. It turns out we all have a ton in common. Liz and I do very similar work, and we all have common nerdy interests. It was a little awkward at first, as meeting new people often is, but once we all got comfortable, we had a blast. From there, we have all become fast friends, and Liz and I have developed our own separate friendship too. We text often, go over to each other's places for dinner sometimes, and hang out on weekends. I can honestly say I really like Liz and her fiancé as a person and trust her 100%. I no longer have a problem with her friendship with my boyfriend at all. They do still carpool sometimes, but they've never hung out alone outside of work. It's always the four of us. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Finally, I have a separate but slightly related update. My boyfriend is now my fiancé. Less than a month after I made my last post, he took me out for a really beautiful and romantic dinner. When we came home, our apartment was covered in roses and candles. I was so shocked I could barely move as he got down on one knee and proposed. I said yes, and then cried for about 2 hours as we called all of our friends and family. It was absolutely perfect, and we are getting married next year. It turns out that Liz actually helped him plan the proposal, and that was part of why they were talking a lot too, since she lives in our building now. He had all of the flowers, candles, champagne, and accessories shipped to her and kept at her place until he was ready for them. He even had her hold onto the ring the week before he did it. After he proposed, she came upstairs and took photos for us and cried with us. That was the moment I realized what a great friend she is to both of us. So, communication saves the day again. We're all great friends now, and Liz and I have regular girls' nights to plan our weddings together.